Tonight, human rights activists criticised the state government for neglecting homeless people. Troy Buswell has rejected the opposition's accusation on vacant public houses. Thanks for calling in.
Also on the evening news, Hong Kong government interviews 50,000 homes to determine the future development on public transport. And social unrest continue in Chile as the general strike and student rally continues.
Good evening. The human rights activist Jerry Georgatos has accused the state government of neglecting homeless people in Perth as the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting will be approached in October. There were also protesters at the Parliament House yesterday afternoon demanding a fair justice for the Aboriginal people in Australia.
Around 50 people turned up outside the State Parliament early Friday afternoon to protest the alleged unfair treatment of Aboriginal people in Australia. In stating a case, Ms. Sheila Harrison of the Bellotti support group used the example of Rex Bellotti Jr., who was run over by a police four-wheel drive 2 years ago. Investigations did not start until a month later when the media started reporting on the case. And until today, there is still no compensation and no closure.
There were at least 20 people who either saw Rex Jr. being hit by the police four-wheel drive or saw what happened afterwards, yet not one witness statement was taken until over a month after this happened, and the majority of those witness statements are unsigned, which means in court you cannot use them.
At the protest, Jerry Georgatos, founder of the Human Rights Alliance, also accused the government of again neglecting the homeless in the city, despite promising to put them up at interim accommodation before the upcoming CHOGM meeting in October. However, Mr. Georgatos says money is going to other services around town when it can be used to help the homeless in the city instead.
What the government should do is not be spending the many millions of dollars on additional benefits around town to welcome our delegates, for instance, the many millions at the Frasers, the statues around town. These are scores of millions that could go to helping build homeless precincts, which would make it a homeless-friendly city. For instance, transitional accommodation, drop-in centres, safe spaces, laundry, showers, psychosocial counsellors, and that sort of thing that actually helps people towards.
Shibs Way, DHK News.
The opposition leader Eric Ripper has highlighted that the bushfire review in 2009 has stated that Western Australia is ready to respond to bushfires and the former Labor state government is not at fault while controlling the Fire and Emergency Service Authority. This response comes after the Kilty report has savaged FESA last week over its faults during the Kelmscott and Roleystone bushfires, which happened in February this year.
Last week, the Emergency Services Minister Rob Johnson refused to resign after the Kilty report.
So I ask, who's got blood on their hands in this chamber? Not me, not me. Nobody died under my watch.
The former Emergency Services Minister Job Colbell yesterday defended and said the report earlier proved that FESA was doing well when the previous Labour government was in power.
When we had major fires, the reports, the reviews that were done showed that there was no incompetency, that there was a good cooperative working relationship between the different agencies. The report from the Barnett government that the Leader of the Opposition, Eric Ripper, has already mentioned to you, clearly says FESA is inherited from the Labor government, was working well. What has gone wrong in the last 2 years to lead Mr. Kilty to give such a damning report of how it now operates under Rob Johnson?
Ripper has also questioned Rob Johnson's abilities as a police minister after a high number to clan labs are discovered in Perth home.
You can see we are already at this stage of the year only one behind last year's total of clan labs. Clearly this is an issue that's getting out of control. Again, this comes back to Rob Johnson. What is he doing to deal with this emerging serious issue?
John White, DHK News.
The state opposition housing spokesperson Mark McGowan says it is very annoying to see public houses left vacant, as he claimed that there are more than 53,000 people on the public housing waiting lists. But Housing Minister Troy Buswell has denied the criticism, saying the waiting list has been in steady decline.
This is an abandoned Homes West house in Mosman Park. The outgrown front yards, graffiti shacks, broken wooden steps and tiles have made the property an eyesore in the area. The opposition toured the house and confirmed the property had been left empty for around a year.
Well, obviously, Mr Buswell needs to get in his car, drive around some of these properties, have a look at them and ask why they're empty. Why is this one empty? And put a family in it as soon as possible.
Housing Minister Troy Buswell has hit back, saying there's been a steady decline of numbers on the Homes West waiting list since last year. On the 31st of July, there was almost 23,000 applicants, which means more than 51,000 people applied for public housing. The 435 vacant properties represents around 1% of the entire public housing stock. This is due to property refurbishments, housing sales and the relocation of tenants. Jo Lettenmaier, DHK News.
To Hong Kong stories now, and the government will begin a survey interviewing around 50,000 homes about their daily commuting habits. The data collected will help the Transport Department to plan Hong Kong's future development on the public transport infrastructures and services.
This survey will last for 4 months, starting on the 5th of September until January next year. 50,000 families will be randomly selected to participate in the survey in an attempt to understand Hong Kong families' travelling habits on public transport. The participants will be questioned on their last working day and will be asked about how they travelled to work, how much time was spent waiting and travelling, and the course of travel. They will also be asked for their opinions on different transportation modes. They have also included questions about walking and cycling as a form of transport. Hundreds of students and alumni of the University of Hong Kong have staged a rally on the campus to condemn the strict policing arrangement during the visit of Vice Premier of China, Li Keqiang, to the institution last week. Student protesters were blocked and confined as Mr. Li attended the university's centenary celebration last Thursday. Participants of the rally accused the police of suppressing the freedom of speech and criticized the university's Vice-Chancellor Chui Lap-chi for failing to safeguard students' rights to express their views. Laurent, DHK News, Hong Kong.
The Chief Executive of the West Kowloon Cultural District Authority, Michael Lynch, has said that the one-off endowment of the 21.6 billion Hong Kong dollars for the project may not have been enough to cover costs. Mr. Lynch suggested to legislators that due to inflation and high spending, the funding, which was approved in 2008, is likely to be exceeded. Whilst his comments angered several members, Mr. Lynch insisted that he was not seeking for more money.
Time for international stories now, and the hunger strike and student rally continues in Chile as the demand for an education reform becomes loud and clear. There are also ongoing strikes. The union claims there are 400,000 protesters, while police have said there are 50,000. Chile correspondent Brian Ramir has sent us this report.
A 48-hour national strike got off a violent start in Chile yesterday as demonstrators clashed with the police around Santiago in the worst unrest Sebastián Piñera's 70-month-old presidency. Protesters set bonfires to block access to major roads in Chile's capital city and threw stones at the passing buses, shattering windows in the vehicles as the strike got underway. The president, Mr. Sebastián Piñera, accused strike organizers to trying to hurt Chile. The strike was called by Chile's leading labor union, Confederación General de Trabajadores. The students are demanding far-reaching reforms of the education system that will eliminate a voucher system that supports private universities and provide free, higher-quality university education at the state schools. The demonstration posed a major challenge for Piñera, Chile's first right-wing leader since the dictator Augusto Pinochet, whose military government created the current education system in the 70s. Protesters were demanding for improved working conditions for hospital and emergency workers, also for a better education. For DHK News, Brian Ramirez, Santiago, Chile.
Sports news is next with Camilo Mejia.
And more exciting action is coming from the football pitch.
Thanks guys, and welcome to Evening Sports. To the Carling Cup in England, where Newcastle United edged out home side Scunthorpe United in a thrilling 2-1 victory to progress into the third round. Coming back from 1-0 down, Newcastle's Ryan Taylor scored the equaliser with a superb free kick in the 80th minute to send the game into extra time. Substitute Sammy Amoebi scoring the late winner for the Magpies. Bolton Wanderers also enjoyed a come-from-behind victory as they fought past Macclesfield Town 2-1. Macclesfield took the lead in the 11th minute with a goal from Emile Sinclair before Bolton equalised in the 56th minute. Martin Petrov raced clear of the defence and scored the winner for Bolton minutes before the full time. Blackburn Rovers won 3-1 over Sheffield Wednesday at home. Liverpool, Everton and Middlesbrough also progressed to the third round. That's all for sports tonight. Now back to Ivan and Anna.
Thanks, Cam, and that's how the world looks tonight.
Thanks for your company. Good night.
Good night.